Breakfast is not that exciting today. It's just one yam, just about that big, peeled and then grated up.
For both of us?
Yep. And about 300 and some grams of mushrooms sliced
Well, that
up.
sounds exciting. I like yams and mushrooms.
2 zucchinis, about that big, sliced up. 1 head of garlic, 1 onion. The garlic's minced, the onion sliced. And that's it. And it's a little bit wet because I didn't take the lid off soon enough to let it steam off.
Yeah, it'd be great. It's great. It tastes good.
I brought some toast out to kind of sop it up.
Yeah, see?
And yeah, surprisingly, I think I almost got enough sleep, even though
Well,
the city was alive last night.
Oh, alive with craziness. Well, alive with death on wheels, so...
Well, they were having some sort of a party. Now, who was putting it on? It was the city...
City of Lethbridge. And New West Theatre, I think it's called. Which is kind of like the amateur group in town. They probably get a lot of Canada Council funding. They're important. They're yellow propagandists, according to Briggs Meyer thing. And what else? Geomatic Attic, it's called. I don't know what it is.
Oh. Well, that's the problem with yellows. I mean, you see it in hair salons, right? The names of hair salons, and you're like, oh, why did you name it that? You know, or whatever.
Yeah, can you think of one you thought
Like,
of? You've got
There's
one.
so many bad ones.
I know.
But, I mean, there's good names that you'd think you'd see more of, like hair salons called Cutting Edge or something like that, right? I mean, that's a good name.
Yeah, but you came up with one a while back, and I was going, why in heaven's name? It's a pun. But they don't realize that it cuts them down.
Yeah. Oh, well, it was for, it wasn't a massage place. It was physiotherapy. That's what it was. Recently, it was something called, like, Lyme physiotherapy or something. I don't know what it made no sense. It was like, well, it wasn't called Lyme physiotherapy. The physiotherapy thing was in the small print or whatever, and so I figured out, oh, that's what this business is. It was something ridiculous.
Speaking of that, there's one. It was, I think the name might have been come up with by a guy who was immigrant from Russia, and probably a legitimate immigrant. In other words, he was Jewish, and it's not good to be in a Eastern European context, or even Central European context. I'm thinking about Germany, and to be a Jew. So he ended up over here, but he's a smart guy. He took some courses, or a course on massage therapy and stuff like that, right? I don't think they'd had that over in Russia. Actually, I think it came from Belarus, strictly speaking. But I'm sure the Russians under Putin think that and Ukraine and Lord knows what all else still belongs to Great Mother Russia.
Yeah.
They just can't give up on empire. Hey, Putin, buddy. The Brits gave up on it. You do it too. Same thing with you misleaders, not leaders, of the so-called People's Republic, so-called Republic. They should call it a tyranny or something like that, of China. Give up on your empire. Give up on Tibet. This is supposed to be the post-colonial era. You've been colonizing Tibet for quite a while. You've got no legitimate claim on that. Yeah, at one point in time, the Chinese were in there, but the Brits have had to give up. They were in India for a long time. They had to give up that little fantasy of theirs. Give up on your little designs on Nepal. Give up your designs on India. Stop supporting the Naxalites. As soon as you stop supporting them, they fold up and like a dirty shirt. Well, what were we talking about?
Hair salon somehow. But
yeah, so I was going to mention.
Oh.
Bear's, I think it was paw, but it might have been bear's claw.
Yeah, I saw that.
Therapy. Is it claw or paw?
I don't know. I just saw I saw the emblem for it or whatever, the logo. The logo, and I'm like, huh.
No, doesn't work. A bear's going to maul you, so.
I guess they're supposed to say, they're thinking, oh, a really strong massage, because bears are strong or whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't want strong stuff.
Oh my gosh.
I think some of the stuff might have been borderline chiropractic. I've only had one person do chiropractic on me, and it was scary. That's before I had back trouble. Scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't actually... There's a lot of...
You could do some major league damage with those kind of manipulations.
Yeah, there's a lot of the alternative therapies that I actually think have some benefit. Like I've tried a lot of them just to see, and I was surprised that acupuncture actually works.
Yeah,
I don't know.
For a while.
Yeah.
Was your experience?
Yeah.
So it's more for relief than a solution. Okay.
Yeah. So it's... I don't know that it should be covered by healthcare because it would cost a lot for people to keep going in.
You go in and you get, what, a weekly treatment? Is that what you'd need, or even more frequent?
Maybe more even, I don't know. So, like for me, I found that when my wrist was sore, if I got the treatment on the Friday, then I wasn't using my hand. I could rest it for all weekend. But then... once I started using it again on the work week, it was all, what the acupuncturist had done, which he did a great job. I got relief until I started using it.
Less than a week, right? Couple of days.
So maybe if I had the opportunity to try it, I don't want to have the opportunity again. I would like to never have my wrist sore again like that. That was horrible. But maybe to be able to get the treatment and then not have to do anything for 6 months, maybe it would last longer, and I could see how long the treatment actually lasted, because I can't really say how long it would last because I was going right back to work with it, and then it was wrecked.
It might be good for someone who
it might actually last longer.
Retiring or moving over to something that didn't stress the wrist. So,
exactly.
So you had carpal tunnel syndrome, right?
Well, I think so, but
never diagnosed.
No,
it's hard to get the doctors to work
here I'm living in Canada, and I'm an amiable personality type, so.
In other words, passive.
I will really have to be in a state of emergency where I'm dying before I actually get legitimate treatment a lot of the time. Although the most recent doctor that I've had, she does seem to want to help me. Like she cut the what do you call them?
Fat deposits?
Yeah, I can't remember the names. I can't remember right now. Anyway, she cut that, and she did such a good job. Really, she should have went into plastic surgery or something, because she did an awesome job.
Yeah. And she's just a GP.
Yeah. So, and, when I was thinking about going to, it was ridiculous. I shouldn't have even bothered her with it, really. But when I was thinking of going to try to get, fertility treatment after I'd already went into menopause, she was very helpful. She was lining me up with a bunch of things, and I maybe had, if I had strength of will at that point, I could have followed through. But I thought, this is ridiculous. So I didn't call. But she did the job. You know, it wasn't her at that point, it was me. It was already too late, you know. Had I found her as a doctor years before, or somebody like her, maybe it would have worked out. I don't know. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, we were talking about the partying last night. So they had some sort of event at, what is it called?
It's called the Civic Center, I think.
Which is weird because
the Civic Center pitch.
It's a field, but it's honestly it's misplaced. As soon as I saw that, I thought, well, you have the library here, you have a swimming pool, you have a senior center. They need to redevelop that area. They used to have the YMCA, whatever, right there too.
YWCA is
it's
still
a little
going
further on, yeah. But so they had all these things in the same general area, and if you go to a larger center like Calgary, they've amalgamated these city functions, right, into, so you might have, say, an art gallery with a library, with a swimming pool, with a whatever, all in the same complex, really. And the first time I saw that in Calgary, I thought, swimming pool with books?
Bad idea.
Yeah, but if you have them at the other end of, like, the Civic Center is very large, so if you had the pool at one end, and you had, say, a tropical greenhouse, you know, for people to go relax.
Next to the pool.
Right next to the pool, and then you know, if you spaced it properly so that you wouldn't have, anyway.
You wouldn't want a museum or a library really mixed up with anything. That one you want separate. I'll give you an example. I don't know what the Glenbow is, what used to be mixed up with. It might still be. But they combine it with another function. There it's even more important. You're trying to save artifacts. And you have all sorts of trouble with controlling things like humidity and so on and so forth. But I know what you're talking about. It's just that one sort of thing maybe is an exception.
Well, you could have a courtyard in the middle. Or
something like that.
Like, so the buildings are separate, but they're all in the same sort of complex, where you enter them from different places. Or even if you have entered, you know what? I think you could figure it out. So, in any case, the first time I saw that Civic Center field, I'm thinking, well, the field should be elsewhere. And this, like, you could have an indoor track for people to run on. So it could be a part of the complex that people run around, like within the upper canopy of the greenhouse gardens. Do you see what I'm saying? The tropical gardens. So you're up there with the birds running around. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, maybe what they should have done is how they've got public operations and other city functions in the north side. They should have used that field for some sort of city functions. The trouble is they put sports things there along with administrative things, along with the RCMP.
Well, yeah, the RCMP's there.
Along with something like recreation. I know people who are into being aggressive propagandists don't like to think of plays as being like entertainment. It's like, wow, it's something really awesome and cosmic and edifying as well as education or as well as entertaining. No, not really. Even something like Shakespeare is more entertainment than edification. Yeah. I don't think people get much edification out of Shakespeare. If that's all the edification they're getting, where God help us.
But anyway, so they have this big party last night.
Big shindig.
And
lots of
all
they're
of a
basically
sudden-
playing rock and associated type of music.
So James went to see what it was about, and then he saw that very few
Understand
people
not
were
to
wearing
participate. I was hanging
Mhm.
outside of the fence and stuff like that. I had my mask on. I think I saw 2 people wearing masks. I saw all sorts of people, roughly my age, guys with beer guts and ponytails, and stuff like that. And what I styled it to myself was COVID Woodstock, you know. I don't know if it's going to be a mass spreader, but people were lining up to get the beers. Now it's outside, and they claim that outside it's not as risky. Well, I think people were still running a risk, so
Anyway.
we'll see what happens. They'll see what happens.
So then at I don't know, I think at about 10:30 or something, it started getting really loud.
No, it was only 8:30.
When it
Okay.
started getting really loud?
Might have been 8.
Okay. So,
I was
Then-
surprised, but the days are getting shorter, right?
okay. So it started getting hugely loud.
Oh,
like
just
I was
boom, boom, boom.
James was
You can-
like,
I
well,
can hear the lyrics inside.
Exactly.
And you know the civic
And
center
it's
is quite
not-
a ways away,
Yeah, it's not that
half a
close.
mile maybe.
Although they shouldn't have functions like that there anyway,
Right
because
next to
there's people's
residential.
houses right across from the field. Right
They
there.
should have anything like that at Galt Gardens.
Yeah.
It's just a few blocks away.
Yeah. And when they redevelop that, when they do, because that's what that should be, it should be a library and a art gallery and this and that. When they redevelop it, they need to put a drive-through for the library for pickup and drop-off, especially for drop-off. Because, you know, it's funny. They spent all this money redeveloping the library recently. And
Wow, that was just
if they
to get
had
back.
just paid attention to the problems, like they have handicap parking there, and people are always pulling in there so that they can park illegally, like not in the handicap spots, just in the driveway.
While they drop
stuff
you know.
off.
They just
So
block a
obviously-
huge number.
Yeah,
Yeah, that parking
it's
lot's
a
very
problem.
poorly designed.
And so, if anybody had actually paid attention to what was needed for the library for redevelopment, they would have noticed that. That's the number one thing. I noticed that years ago, that was a problem. People need to be able to deliver, because they're doing it. They're basically driving their car as close to the drop-off box as they can, which is in the handicapped area.
Area where they've got to back out or go.
Which is a terrible area for handicapped people to park in,
Wow.
honestly.
Yeah,
you
because
looked
there are
at
all
it,
sorts of kids walking through
it's
there.
Awful.
I
It's
wonder
right
how many
the
kids have
children
been backed
entrance-
over.
Yeah, it's incredible. Whoever put that there, like that, is a moron. Such a moron. You need to have your whatever engineering degree for laying things out taken away from you because you're a moron.
Now, generally,
So-
I've got to say, when it comes to Lethbridge, I mean, that's on a micro scale.
Yeah.
Macro scale, Lethbridge planning
Yes.
is awesome
Mhm.
by comparison with Calgary, Grand
So
Prairie,
many.
Medicine Hat, Edmonton, for locating industrial up in the north, northeast, downwind, and stuff like that. Moving, what was it, Lafarge? There was some sort of, on the west side, they had some sort of thing where you could buy limestone and stuff like that. They moved that out. I think they were there. It was understood they were there temporary basis, and they moved that stuff out. Whereas you look at Medicine Hat, they've got industrial, like near the airport. That's up to the southwest. That's upwind. I mean, it's not really heavy industrial. You got it scattered all over the place. It's appalling. I shouldn't have to mention Calgary. It's stunning. Up where you've got I think a lot of people like moving up to the northwest, but they've got a landfill up there. Wow.
Well, anyway.
And they've got the jail up there. Hey guys, you just got out of jail and you can go rip up. Well, maybe that's good. You can go rip off some rich people living around here.
Anyway.
But the problem is not so much rich people, but it's a residential area up there. So what are they thinking of? Crazy. Oh well.
Anyway. So, they have this party on and it's really loud, and we're thinking, gosh, why are they doing this? You know, this they've made it even louder
Yeah,
as
they'd
the
really
night goes on.
up the amps.
And so James is away and I'm up because, well, there's no way I'm going to sleep. So I checked my watch and I'm like, 11:30. I thought they were supposed to stop.
They went past 11, eh?
Yeah, I thought they were supposed to stop the noise at 11 because really you're not supposed to be.
Generally,
I think it's
when they have
11 till 7 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Generally, when they have a city-approved function, they close up by 11.
Yeah. So then James gets back. I don't know what time it was.
It would have been about midnight, so they'd only shut it down for half an hour. There still was music going, but it wasn't that earth shaking.
He tells me it wasn't the Civic Center anymore.
It was people.
And the reason that it got louder is because it got closer.
A block away. Yeah.
So it wasn't the Civic.
And I'd run across some people who were going to the party. They were from Manitoba.
Party.
How you been? No, I got friendly with them as soon as I heard the accent. So they were from Manitoba, but that was an intermediate stop for them. They'd been in Canada 7 years. They're from Portugal, eh? So.
Oh. Yeah. And James lately has been trying to read Portuguese.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Read it, so understand. You know, like I wouldn't have been able to understand them if they're speaking it, and I definitely wouldn't be able to speak it. But and we're not even going to talk about writing. I'm just trying to max out the number of languages I can get to read. So I like to get to the point to be able to read a newspaper and or things like research papers. And if I can read at least with a select number, poetry or something like that, that would be a bonus. So it's been going very, very, very well, especially since I started recovering from cancer. Last 10 years I've socked away so many languages. So I was saying the other day, I've spread myself thin. I make no apologies, because with certain select things, I've spread myself thick, relatively thick, and with quite a few things, thick enough so that I've been able to make what should be seen as contribution. In other words, discoveries that should have been made in many cases decades ago, in some cases more than 100 years ago. And I'm not saying I'm right about these sorts of things, but these discoveries should have been discovered as possibility. And they haven't been, because basically the various academic institutions, not just here in the so-called West, but other places, have tended to crush dissent. Really, is the way they look at. Hey, that person is just not cooperating. You know, like what do they think? They're a heretic in the case of religion, or they're a quack in the case of science. They're a hoaxer is one of the words they like using, and. So one of these days, Pauline's going to help me arrange to get something on the internet about maybe following up on what Michael Faraday did with electricity, and where it takes you. It takes you past James Clerk Maxwell. Takes you past Einstein. It takes you past Edwin Hubble. What's happened is basically a dissociation of sensibility that was used with poetry and literature about 100 years ago. But it's worse. It's just a dissociation of sensibleness.
You have about 5 minutes
5 minutes.
if you want to talk about
Yeah, exactly right. And then we can talk a little bit about things like the structure of the nucleus and where that goes, you know. So this would be, I don't know if it'd be so much a follow-up, but maybe something of a follow-up. I haven't been able to track down this stuff, but now work that a guy called Rutherford did. Was it Ernest Rutherford? Something like that. I think he came from New Zealand. Did a little bit of work here in Canada, way down east in McGill. And then he eventually gravitated, I suspect it was Cambridge. Somewhere in England, one of the two Oxbridge institutions. And so far as I can tell, he's the last of the big shots, and he died in 1939. Check that up just in case I got it wrong. Somewhere around there. He's about the last of the big shots to think that there's a possibility that the nucleus is of the atom is solid. Why wouldn't that be? You see, I'm talking about possibilities, you know? Like what they've got now is a liquid drop model, the gas model. And then something like, it's almost like a plasma model, it's an orbital model. But, you know, they don't talk about a solid state model. Why wouldn't you explore that possibility? That's all. You know, now I didn't explore that possibility. To explore that possibility, I was just looking at the numbers for the most stable nuclei. And they tell you very clearly that an option, no, the best option is a solid state model. Well, we'll talk about that. The numbers. The numbers. You know, when you get away from the numbers and you start doing the Niels Bohr thing, you start going off into whack, whack, whack land. But of course, I'd be seen as a hoaxer. Whereas I just rely on the numbers, you know? The numbers. They're very simple numbers. We'll talk about them. I call them the prosaic numbers. So they're magic numbers, and they don't lead you anywhere. And then there are the prosaic numbers. And I use some of the magic numbers, and then I use some of the other numbers that I've discovered by myself. You put them together, and they're the prosaic numbers. You run across very simple arithmetic sequences, and they show you regularity in the structure of the atom. It's the real structure, or the nucleus of an atom. Anyway, how about that? Sign off now.